Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the conversation series.
Because creators are businesses.
What we do is not simple.
Give, the fans everything that they deserve.
Being creative
is like doing a 5,000 piece puzzle.
Is something that you can learn and do over and over again.
Always be as authentic as I can be.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the conversation series. I am thrilled today to have Mr. Brian Davison here. He is the founder and CEO of Sports Business Ventures. He's got a very long background and career of being in a variety of roles in sports, marketing, all of this. Brian, thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yes. I know you've got an extreme passion for basketball. You've had a very long career and love for basketball. Would love to just hop in before everything and hear what got you interested in sports. Where did your passion start for sports?
Yeah, it's such a great question, and it has been a huge part of my life since, my early years. And for me, I was able to utilize sports in a bunch of different ways, but I found out early on in school I had some learning disabilities and really early on in my elementary school days, and so school was hard. And when I was able to get to sports, and my parents put me into sports at a very early age, I found out that I excelled in it. It was pretty easy and natural, and it just was an easy way for me to just express who I was and my talents, but also my friendships and everything else in between. And so that grew over time and became really profound. I mean, I remember growing up watching Sports Center like in second, third grade and just like memorizing everything about the day of sports, and then talking to my parents the next day about it. And then my parents started really integrating me into sports, taking me to events, and then it led to me playing three sports in high school. I played soccer, basketball, lacrosse in high school, then played college basketball, then coached in college, then of course worked at Nike, and then worked in the NBA, and then now of course building sports business ventures. And it's really this amalgamation of just the love, the passion, and how it's really fueled my life to really push and try things out and get to meet some amazing people along the way.
Yeah. And you just mentioned it, like you coached at your alma mater. You then went on to work at Nike for 12 years, working a variety of different roles. You then were with the Milwaukee Bucks for quite a bit of time, won an NBA championship with that team, and now building a business of your own, a very thriving business. How has each of these chapters that you've gone through kind of prepared you for the next?
Yeah, it's I think there's two parts to my answer here. I'd say first the skill sets, of course, right? You go from one to another and you stack your skill sets, and that's exactly what I did. Being a player, if you start there, and I was able to learn the game from the playing side, and then I was able to then transcend that into coaching, and then be able to talk the players and tell them on and off the court what they need to do to be the best, right, of what they needed. And that then, of course, stair stepped into the rest of my career. And so, Nike is a place that's so big and so massive. You can become really vertically focused, right? You are in brand marketing, you're going to spend your whole time in brand marketing. If you're in sales, you could spend your whole entire career in sales. And for me, I was juxtaposition to that. I did the exact opposite. I went from retail to the brand marketing to sales to product creation, then to sports marketing, where you sign NBA athletes to the brand. And so for me, the skill stacking was really important, because when I got to that role within Nike basketball sports marketing, I was able to build $100 million business with Giannis Antetokounmpo in the Freak One. That was the largest signature shoe launch in Nike basketball history. But the reason why I share that is all the learnings from building shoes, selling shoes, marketing shoes, the shoes being in retail, working with consumers, I was able to then build a team and build an offense that made sense for that brand building of Giannis. And that included everything from the branding to the logos to the wording to the shoe creation to the accessories to the apparel. And so really skill stacking is the first part of it. And the second part of it is just like the understanding of the grind and building the grit to then be able to to do the next job. And so really early on in your career, I tell a lot of people you're going to get hired for your effort. And then later on in your career, you're going to get hired for your expertise.
Yeah.
And that's exactly my career. It was all about effort at the very beginning and showing people and demonstrating that I could do it and then proving it to myself, skill stacking, and then, you know, building and growing the grit to then be able to move into leadership roles.
Have you gone into any of these skill stacking positions and been like, holy shit, I'm terrified right now of this because this one terrifies me a little bit more than the last one?
Yeah, I would say every single step was terrifying. So, you know, the couple ones that come to my mind right away. I was in Eakin, which is Nike spelled backwards. It's one of the most prestigious entry-level roles within the corporate side of Nike. Phil Knight was the first Eakin. I won Eakin the year in 2012 and 2013 and moved into a sales role. I was super nervous about that because I went from a brand marketing role to forecasting and assorting, you know, the product lines and the sales strategy for you know small retailers to make sure that their business you know was making 3, 4, 5 million a year from Nike, and then move into product creation. There's a fun story that my first day on the job was ironically in DC where I grew up, even though we were living in Portland.
Yeah.
We were doing market travel. And so we went on, did market travel in the I-95 corridor. So we go to New York, DC, Philly, and really hear from like the grassroots of like, you know, sneaker obsessed people and high schoolers and everything in between. And I get done, we're getting done the trip, and my boss walks up to me. His name was Kevin, and he says, "Hey, let's sit down in the lobby real quick and talk about the presentation next week." And I'm like, "Sure." I don't know what he's talking about. Needless to say, I found out that I had an hour and a half presentation, 50-page deck with a whole entire product line that was worth about $200 million. I had to present the name of the shoe, the design of not the design, I'm sorry, but the name, the price point, the reason for the design of the shoe, like what's the inspiration, and the consumer insights. And all these acronyms he's throwing at me, and I'm like, I'm terrified. I have to talk in front of 75 people, all the way up to the president of the Jordan brand. I
Yeah.
have no idea what I'm doing. And I really didn't. And I remember being in the presentation, not knowing, but I made sure to try to prepare as best I could, and then fake it till you make it, is what I did there. And then the other one where it was a big lofty goal when Nico Harrison, now the GM of the Dallas Mavericks, was my boss at Nike Basketball. He brought me onto the team in the 2015-16 season, right after the NBA did the licensing agreement with Nike. And I moved to Chicago, and he said, the number one goal you have, the only success criteria you have, is re-signing Giannis Antetokounmpo in 2017. And I said, okay. And he wasn't in a great place with the brand at the time. There wasn't a lot of love or attention to him because he wasn't an all-star yet. They were on a losing team. And I had to go up there and mend a relationship into the 2016 season to then move into the 17. And then, of course, you know, we signed him and built the business that we built. But, you know, I think my lesson there to that great question is, you know, everything's going to be a little bit scary. And that means that you're doing something right because
Yep.
you're challenging yourself. And that's how I took it. And I actually, even though it was terrifying, it fueled me to prove to myself really more than anybody that I could do it.
Everything's always going to be a little scary. Something new is always going to be a little scary to you.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
I want to hop into SBV, Sports
Yeah.
Business Venture. You creating this company, it's almost 2 years you've been doing this, a little over a year. You saw something in the marketplace. What was your vision when going and creating, and how does this then fit into this next generation of sports and sports industry leaders that are coming up?
Yeah. Yeah. For me, over these 20 years, and I've kind of shared a couple stories
Yeah.
throughout those 20 years of me being in sports. The one thing that I noticed really early on, there were certain people that invested into me, and they became my mentors, they became my endorsers, they became my supporters. And my very first mentor, Jeff Tapkus, shared to me, pay this forward. So he told me that in 2009. Pay this forward, Brian. Don't just like harbor all this information and all this intel. Share it with others. And so that's really the derivative of SBV is me sharing my insights and my experiences, but also my network and my ability to build with people to then be able to share their experiences with this broader community. And, over the years, I've done hundreds and hundreds of informationals for people that now work in the NFL league office and work at Nike and work at Adidas, work in the NBA and other places. And I, first was doing it just because I thought, hey, I should pay it forward. I found out there was a true passion for me to help people get to where they want to go because people did the same for me. And so SBV was really brought to the forefront of my mind and my wife's mind as well. She's a co-founder through our sports experiences to help and drive others and empower them to get to where they want to go. So it's been a ton of fun. We met amazing people, and the beautiful part of it is you're meeting people that want to help others, and then of course you're helping others, which is what I like to think is why we're here, right? Is to build together and help people, and we get to do that every day.
I love that. Mentorship is I've talked to so many people, and no other industry have I come into than sports. Has mentorship been the biggest topic that, I mean, amongst any industry? And it's so cool to see the amount of camaraderie, community, and everybody coming together to kind of pitch around and be able to help new to step in when the old has a question to the new coming in. It's been really nice to just see the evolving generation of everybody coming into the sports industry and how mentorship is such a big piece of that.
Yeah, I think it's like really fundamental, right? Like I think at the end of the day, that's what sports is
Yep.
you're trying to mold and build teams and you're trying to help players become better. You're trying to have a better record from the year before. And I think that is inherent in a lot of people that work in sports is they want to see others grow. Now, of course, there's some people that don't, and they either don't have time or they're too busy or there's not an interest to them. But to me, I tell everybody like that's okay. Find the people that say no, and then that you're going to find a quicker way to yes, right? So just keep finding the ones that say yes. But you are correct. It's I think in the formula of who we are in sports, and the other thing too that's been really interesting and profound discovery that we discovered was even the people that are at the top, the VPs, the CFOs, the CIOs, the CEOs, they're looking for guidance every now and then.
Yeah.
And so they bounce off ideas and they're connecting with others that are at their level and or different sectors of the industry to make sure that they're prepared for the next step. And so it's really cool. And it then takes me to the point of being a lifetime learner.
Yep.
Whether you're starting your career, you're 10 years in, you're 20 years in, you're still learning and you're still growing. And so it's a pretty cool part to be in a community that everybody's looking to continue to develop.
And as you know this, I mean, sports is it's a fast-paced industry. It's an ever-changing industry. There are things that are happening every single day. With SBV's unique blend of, as you were kind of walking through it, education, you've got this content, you've also got the consulting. Like, how do you approach staying ahead of this curve in this very quick evolving industry?
Yeah, it's such a great question. It actually goes back to one of the stories of that market travel in the Jordan brand that I was a part of, like being in the weeds with the consumer, being connected to what's happening every day and hearing from people that are doing it and then wanting to do it. So we do not live in a vacuum where this is our opinion, follow us, and then we're going to stick to this for the next 10 years. We are building and crafting every single day based upon real world, real insights from people that are really doing it or trying to do it. And so it's really staying connected and engaged. There's a Nike maxim called that is the consumer decides. And that's what we live by, right? We are building for the consumer. We're not building because we believe we know it all. We're building it and trying to find solutions to the people that are having the challenges and problems, and then talking to people. And sometimes I do have those solutions, or talking to people that can help provide that to the community. And so it's this ever evolving, tinkering and changing and evolving space. And so our products, our services, our offerings are all built for that as well.
Love that. And you guys have what you call the playbook and your mentorship marketplace. You have, a plentiful of resources that you offer to everybody that I'm sure everybody wishes early on in their career that they had, which is great. And I love to see that so many people are offering these things now too. How
Yeah.
do you ensure that these tools, like we've been talking about, with this ever evolving, are staying up to date? They're impactful, and it's kind of they're still helpful for this generation that's coming up.
Yeah, yeah. I love the point too of you saying a lot of people wish they would have had something like that.
Yeah.
Something very early on in my entrepreneurship journey, someone shared with me, like, envision who your consumer is.
Yeah.
Like, find out who they are and then build something for them. And the great thing is, when I closed my eyes right after that person told me that, I saw myself 20 years ago. And I was like, I'm selling to myself. I'm building for myself just 20 years
Yeah.
prior. And so that was something that I constantly think about, like, what would have I wanted when I was in that Nike retail store making $11.25?
Yep.
What would have I needed for, a nominal fee of $100 a year, to trying to find a way to connect and learn, right? And that's what the playbook is. It's this place where virtual events happen, and that we have a database focused around executives in sports and all levels of sports, where you can get their LinkedIn by 2 or 3 clicks. You can find out their department, their name, and their LinkedIn URL. We have networking opportunities, we have job boards, we have discussions and all that. And it was really built in this ever evolving space where we're just continually stacking onto it. And so the analogy or metaphor I use all the time with my team is, Netflix doesn't just come out and say, "Hey, we're Netflix. We bought a couple and acquired a couple,
Yeah.
shows and movies and stuff like that." They're building their own content. It never stops, right? It is this continued path of, what do we need to develop? What do we need to learn from the data? What do we need to learn from the people that are our viewers, and then continue to build and bring on new things. And so we trying to take that same path as like streaming services. Like, the content is going to be need to change and evolve and continue to be delivered in new ways. And so we're trying to do that, which is a fun task to have. I wouldn't say it's easy at all, because a lot of people have a lot of stuff going on. So keeping people's attention spans these days is tough. And so we're evolving every day to find out how to do that, and then making sure we're delivering that to our community.
What I love on LinkedIn too is you guys are sharing a vast amount of information too. Like I just saw this morning, like new jobs that you guys are calling out for people. There is so many different resources that you are making sure that aren't hidden behind a door. They are able to be grabbed by people very easily through social media too, which I have such an appreciation for because I think we're seeing more of that happen where we're like, this doesn't need to be under lock and key. This can be shared and be amongst the masses.
Yeah, like, that's such a great point. And for us, the way I've always envisioned this is, we have, different uh access points to our brand and to our company and to our services. And so we have our free newsletters, the Scouting Report, which is 84 editions in of sports industry executives that we're doing a 3-minute read. So you can read about an executive in 3 minutes, probably one that you never heard of before. That's a VP
Yeah.
or a director or a CEO, or even sometimes an athlete we interview in the space. You can learn from them for free. We have the Sports Industry Weekly, which is our recap on Friday mornings of everything happening in the sports business space around careers and sports news. And then so that's free. We have the social media side where we're trying to drive as much awareness and amplify these opportunities to our community. And so we trying to have a decent amount of stuff for free, because we know people are going through challenging times where they're trying to find a new job or trying to get in right after paying all this money to go to school. And so we have that. And then our price points with the products that we do have are affordable and accessible. because we want everybody from all walks of life, from all levels to be able to afford what we're doing. And so that was one of our core propositions when we started, was make it accessible to everybody. And I appreciate you bringing up the stuff about social media and our 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 platforms there. The
Yeah.
thing that we're really excited about within LinkedIn is we just went over 50,000 on LinkedIn. And so it's fun when my wife and I like look back sometimes, and there's a lot going on with three kids and building a business, but when we can go, wow, remember when there was like three people and we were the two people that started it, and then our
Yeah.
sisters like joined, and then they supported us, and now we're at 50,000 people, and it's been organic, no paid ads, no paid media, no boosting posts, and it's been really cool to be able to see this thing grow and trying to provide access for free or very accessible price points. So we're excited to continue to build and continue to provide that.
That's fantastic. It's always fun when you've got this thing that's such a passion that's come to life and you can look
Yeah.
back on the milestones and be like, holy crap. Like you have to let it, sometimes you forget to let like sit there and take it in, but it is nice when you finally do and you're like, it's working. This is
Yeah.
great. We're happy. We're enjoying this. We have our hard days, but this is like what we're supposed to be doing. And I think that's the cool part of all of these projects and passion projects is what I call them that people are doing these days.
Yeah, I mean it's embracing and enjoying the wins. Life goes by really, really quick. And we try to slow down when we can to try to enjoy it, because there are hard days. There are challenging parts of it, and we should use that as building of ourselves, right? And our characters. But at the same time, when there are wins like that, we should try to enjoy them. We try when we can.
Love it. Love it. You have been in a variety of leadership roles yourself, from Nike to being with the Bucks. And leadership is a hard thing to kind of get your feet about you. It's a hard thing to understand, like, what type of leader do I want to be?
Yeah.
Have you figured out your go-to strategy for leadership? Like, what is your tactic? How do you like to roll?
Yeah, for me, I'm a very I'd say hands-on leader.
Okay.
One of the phrases I use all the time, if I'm not willing to take out the trash, I shouldn't expect you to take out the trash.
That.
And so, understanding that you're in a leadership role to be able to see the environment that you're in, and step away from it, and get to a vantage point to be able to help to not just direct, but also mold and develop people to move to the vision that you have, but to be able to demonstrate that I have done it or I am willing to do it. And that is why we're set up for success, to hire the right people to do the same, right? And to develop them. And so I see it as a two-way street in leadership where, the person has to be ready to invest in the company and into the mission, but also into themselves.
Yep.
And in return, the me as a leader have to invest into them, right? Not just the mission and not just the company. And so a lot of times what I think is happening is that people are being more aware with what leadership is. I think a lot of people talk about servant leadership and talk about, that. But I think for me, I try to really dumb it down even to just being a hands-on, in person, and connected to my teams and understanding where they are. And I think a lot of the times people just want a sounding board to be heard and understood. But I think for me, it's not just listening, but it's also creating action plans and direction to make sure that they're developing. If the metaphor I use all the time, if if the role player on the basketball team isn't improving,
Yeah.
right, then the problem with that is when the time comes when they need to step up, they might not be ready. So
Yeah.
we need to develop everybody on the team to be ready to step up when their time's called. And then what if we do that, the company benefits from that to be able to retain and grow their current base of human capital. And so for me, leadership is an ever evolving part of the job, just like the industry and just like the market. You always got to try new things. You always got to develop. And so I'm very focused on, evolving my leadership and evolving my perspective, because as more and more people come on your team, the more and more that you're going to be pulled in different ways, and while you still got to focus on the mission and the vision at the same time. So it's a fun part of the role. And it's one that's always a focus of mine to continue to develop and build on as well.
Love that. I love the example you gave. Like, if you're not willing to take out the trash, how am I going to expect you to do that? Because I think that's a strong tactic. Like, you want to be someone that is you're there, but you're also making sure you're leading that
Yes.
by that way. And so I think that's incredibly important, because I think a lot of leaders will just bark orders, but at the same time they won't go do the same what
Yeah.
they're asking you to do. So I think
Yeah.
it's really important. And as I've gotten further into my career, I've had some great leaders, I've had some not great leaders, where I'm like, when I get into a leadership position, I'm like, I want to stay away from doing these things. I want to be more like this. So
Yes.
it's funny
Yes.
how, as you go through your career, the things you pick up on from the leaders that you've had along the way.
Yeah, I really love that, because when I was playing and I thought I was going to coach for the next 50 years, once I got done playing, I was like, I like that coach, but I didn't like what this coach did. I'm going to do exactly the opposite of what this coach did, or always remember. And that same philosophy is used in what you're doing now. And same goes for what I'm doing, right? Is I might do something. I'm not perfect. I might not give the best direction, or I might think the plan's a strong one, or the strategy's there. And so I have to also be open-minded to listen to my team when they have their own insights or their own perspectives, to make sure that I'm not just barking out orders like you've experienced and I've experienced, everybody has, and say, well, hey, if there's a quantifiable or qualitative reason why
Yeah.
it's appropriate to evolve this thought process, I'm going
Yeah.
to be open-minded to it. And so really having that open-mindedness, but also having that visionary thought to be able to sit at that vantage point is hard. It's hard because everybody's looking up for you and everybody's asking for answers. You can't just be barking answers back. And that's what goes back to the investment point. If you can invest in the others, they will invest into you, and you'll get what you give in return. And so it's a hard balance, because you're pulled in a lot of different ways, but if you do it the right way, you're going to have a lot of people following you in the right direction.
Amen. Amen to that. I want to hop back to SBV real quick,
Yeah.
because part of y'all's mission is amplifying diverse voices in sports, which is important. We've seen this. We've seen so many people speaking out. We've seen so many amplifications of women's basketball, women's hockey, all these different things, as
Yeah.
well as, minority groups, all of this.
Yeah.
How can storytelling and content creation help drive more inclusion and innovation in the sports world?
Yeah, great question. Sports to me from a very early age, like I said, I was on AAU teams in downtown Baltimore, and I didn't look like the rest of my team. And so I got to understand really quickly what it was like to be in a diverse, environment, and understand people, and understand how to interact with people that you might not be interacting with every day. And that's the beautiful thing about sports. It's a global environment. And you look at the NBA, you have people from all over the world, from all different walks of life, and
Yeah.
and of course it's a very global game. And baseball is that as well. You look at the baseball teams, and football is getting there, but it's very American driven within the NFL. But that's the beautiful part of this, is that not everybody has to be the same. And the way storytelling plays a role into this, at least for our perspective, is we make sure to share their stories and amplify them as individuals first. And so by doing that, we're shedding light on, you can be from here, or you can look like this, or you
Yeah.
can be this type of person and still get here and still evolve and still grow and still lead. And so really what we found, people are inspired by certain things. And sometimes it's by where you're from, or how you grew up, or what school you went to, or what your race or ethnicity is. And if that's the case, we're going to provide that to you in a diverse way. And so, one of the things that we've done from the very beginning was the scattering report. That was our very first thing that we provided to our community. And like I said earlier, we have 84 editions. Half of those are female, half of those are male to date. And we're almost, I think we're about 50-50 on minorities and in represented across the scouting report as well. And so what we've always tried to do is be very purposeful with showcasing the plethora of people that are diverse from a bunch of different criteria points, but also diverse in their skill sets and their careers, right? So we don't just do teams or leagues. We do brands, we do photography, we do PTs, we do doctors, we do athletes, we do agents. And so we try to make sure that we show the diversity across all of sports, right? From people to jobs and opportunities. And by doing that and amplifying that and making it purposeful is the word I would say is the most important. Be purposeful with the storytelling to make sure that you're inspiring everybody, not just a singular sector, when you're trying to get that out there. And so storytelling is a beautiful way to do it because it can come across very genuine and authentic because it's coming from them and it's delivering to people in a way where they can take what they want from it and then use it as fuel to fuel their fire.
Yep, absolutely. I was just talking with somebody last night, and I'm not gonna lie to you, Brian. I'm a hockey girl. That's where my heart lies. I've been a hockey fan for years. But we were talking about it last night. It's so great to see, even in Raleigh, North Carolina, where hockey is not we're in the South. We are not the original six. We are not any of that. We're in a not in a hockey market. But what's been fantastic is how much it has grown in the state of North Carolina, and our junior teams are all of this, even seeing the PWHL expand and all of this stuff, WNBA, all of these different organizations to be able to see across the board that you're seeing great representation. So I love what you just said because it's been really nice to see these changes happen and like everybody starting to come to the table in the sense of things here in sports.
It's a really amazing time for women's sports. My sister was a Division I lacrosse player, and so I got to watch and support her as a twin sister of mine, and see her, go through two ACL tears and rehab through that, and then go back to Division I lacrosse and play at a high level and go to the NCAA tournament and be an all-conference player, and then meeting my wife Ellen, who was a rock star in her own with her soccer career. She was, at University of Portland, a NCAA Division I title contender every year for the national championship, being drafted into the Seattle Reign of the NWSL. And really, her stories of what the NWSL was for her back then into what it is now, right, is completely different and how much it's evolved. And so we're really focused on making sure, from the women's sports side, that it's not just beginning because it's already been established, but the rocket ship is taking off. And I think it's so cool to see brands and organizations, investing into it. And then of course, I think too, the consumer is buying into it. I think they're finding that yes, you can love a female athlete, you can love a female team, and
Yeah.
that's based upon the skill set and the talent that they're providing because it's really there.
Yeah.
And I can remember a fun personal story.
Yeah.
My sister was a three-sport athlete in high school as well, and the field hockey team recruited her to come to field hockey and leave soccer. And so she went and played field hockey, and I had never watched a field hockey game before.
It's intense.
And it's amazing. And it was hard for me because my games were typically at the same time her games were.
Got it.
And so my parents, did the best they could to be at two
Yeah.
different fields at the same time, which I don't know how they did it, but it always seemed like they did. But when I did get to go to her games, I was like, I love this sport.
Yeah.
And the point of that story is you have to give yourself a chance to fall in love with it. You got to go check it out. You got to understand the sport. You got to understand the people that are playing it, the people that are building it, right, from the behind the scenes operations and everybody else. But there's a lot of beautiful games out there with amazing talent people, and it's a cool thing that our people are now galvanizing around women's sports, and they should be. And so we're excited at SBV to always promote that. And there's a bunch of careers in women's sports, right? As they continue to grow,
Yeah,
there's going to be more jobs in women's sports, and that's an exciting thing for people that are building their careers right now.
I love that. Brian, I've got three quick lightning round questions, lighthearted, to ask
Okay.
you. If you could go back and play any sport, which one would it be that you didn't play?
Yeah. I love football. I love
Okay.
football. So like I'm a big Washington football team fan, and I would love to have been the quarterback and being the guy, in high school playing quarterback
Yeah,
and being the guy. So football
I
for
love
sure.
it. I love it. If you could relive one sports moment in history, which one would it be?
Oh, that's a good one. Um, I would probably go with just whatever came to my mind. I'd go with the Miracle because we were talking hockey. I'd want to see that. I'd want to be in that stadium. I think it was Lake Placid.
Like Placid?
Um, and be there to see that amazing upset from
Yeah.
that team, the US hockey team. I think that would have been awesome to be at the Olympics and see that.
That is my favorite movie, so I'm right there with you. I can. Everybody hates watching that movie with me because I'm like I can recite probably every word now
The
that I
whole thing.
whole thing. But it's that incredible. I want to be in the locker room when he's giving that
Oh,
speech. That's what I want
man.
to be able to witness.
Oof, that would have been something. It's funny. I'll tell you a quick story here. We
Yeah.
were in the state championship in lacrosse my senior year, and the coach, we were down at halftime pretty bad, and playing against a really good team, and he said, "Everybody look to your left, everybody look to your right. This is the last time ever in your life us 30 people will sit in the same room for the same goal ever again. There will never be another day to be able to do that." And I think, it gives me chills when I think about Coach Carroll saying that back then in 2002. But I can't imagine what it would have felt like to have the chills with Coach Herb, I think was his name,
Yep.
saying that to those players that day in that game. So it was a pretty cool moment. So I would love to have been there.
Yeah. Yeah. That one, I can. It's a pretty good one. You kind of like, all right, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to
Yeah.
go beat the Russians.
Run through a wall.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And then one thing, my last question for you is just if you had to go back to younger Brian, what is one thing you would say to younger Brian?
I would say don't focus on today,
Mm,
focus on a year from now. And so everybody gets caught up in what they want right now.
yeah.
And honestly, like what I think matters more is what you want a year or 2 years from now. And so uh as being a parent of three, someone told me recently, the days are long and the years are short.
Yep.
And I can tell you, as my oldest daughter turns 5 soon in March, the 5 years goes by really, really quick. The nights and the sleeping and all that are long, right? But to soak up those experiences as best you can, knowing that the years are really short, even though the days feel long. And if you can do that, you'll be off to a great start. Long-term positive thinking on that as well.
Brian, I can't thank you enough for joining me today and walking me through your career, everything you guys are doing with SBV. I so appreciate it. And I can't wait to see what you guys continue to do with this.
Well, thank you. Thank you for the platform that you're building as well, and inspiring so many others and amplifying people like myself and others. So thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you. I appreciate that so much. And
Yeah.
as always, guys, I'm gonna have Brian's socials down below. I'm gonna have SBV's. Please go give them a follow, check them out, join their network, and get into everything they're doing. And as always, I will see you guys back here next time. Bye, y'all.